This podcast features a conversation with Wendy Norton, a professional oil painter who's in various galleries across the East Coast of the United States. We discuss how to become a successful artist in this day and age, and specifically her journey in doing so. We also discuss various sources of her inspiration and what self-expression really means from the artist's point of view. If you enjoy the video, leave a like. Thank you all for watching. Now here is Wendy Norton.
Me.
Yeah, and so people may not even realize, but you don't even paint these with a paintbrush.
Most of them, no. Most of them
Completely with a palette knife.
I'll show you.
You have it sitting around? So
Like
that right
these
there,
paint the majority of my painting.
that's your trusty spatula. And the way you explained it to me, because I've asked you before, what is it like painting with a knife? And you said your analogy was kind of that it's like spreading butter.
It's like
on
painting with
toast.
butter, right? So
It's
if
like
you took a
soft
room
butter.
temperature butter stick and you just have to create a painting with it with multiple colors, it's really easy to make a mess and to make mud.
I tried it one time ever, and I thought it was so difficult the way that I was expecting it to be smoother and more like buttery, and but there's some grit to it, and you really have to have finesse.
You have to have finesse.
You gotta be, you gotta get a good feel for it.
It's a technique that takes practice and time, and maybe there are some people that can pick it up and instantly be amazing at it, but it depending upon how you like your paintings to look. I mean, art's so subjective, but for me to get the look that I want, I mean, really took a lot of time and practice and muddy paintings and blood, sweat, and tears, paintings that I hated, but just kept at it because I knew that if I just kept at it, I knew I could do it. It just took a lot of time to get there. It took some time to get there. It's also kind of like frosting a cake. So I don't know if you ever made a cake and you take it out and you try to frost it, and maybe it's a little bit warm still. It's not like quite cooled off. And then you take the knife and then you put the frosting on, and then the cake starts to come up all on the knife. So
yeah,
it's kind of like with the oil paint, you have to be you just have to know how to do it right. If you're going to put, I paint kind of wet on wet. So if you're going to put another color over another color without it making a mud on your canvas, you kind of just have to have the touch.
Yeah, and that really goes to show, though, that the ones who succeed in life are not the ones who are born the fastest and the strongest, but it's the ones that don't give up.
Right.
The ones that keep going.
Right. It's the ones
you
that
knew
keep
that you
going.
could do it, and giving up was not an option.
It wasn't an instant. Well, for drawing, I could always draw as a kid. I mean, I was always one of the ones in school who had, I wasn't like, a genius kid or anything, but I had, my drawings made more sense than a lot of the other kids. They were better, and I had more natural talent, I'd say, is what you call it.
Like an aptitude for
I had
it.
a little bit more natural talent, as do a lot of kids with sports and this and that. But you see people that are the best of the best who don't end up going as far because, like you said, it takes persistence and time, and you have to just put that time in. And I love it so much that, I would always put the time in because it's kind of like, it's just something I feel like I have to do,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like one of those things where even if you didn't make a career out of it, you think you would still enjoy it.
Oh, yeah. I didn't really set out. Well, I sort of did, but I didn't. I set out to, like, I always painted, and then I knew I wanted to, I took some time off after my career as a graphic artist, and knew I wanted to do something more creative. Not that graphic artist isn't creative, but I wanted more creative freedom, I guess is what I'd say. So I just ended up painting for pleasure, really. But then I set a goal. I want to be in an art gallery by the time I'm this age. Not
Mhm.
telling you the age.
Yeah.
So
But it's, yeah, you had that long-term goal. You
it
were
just kind of
orienting
crept up on
yourself
me. I
towards
didn't
it.
have it originally, and I didn't know I was going to be a painter. I knew I was going to do something creative. Then I realized, oh, well, I just really love to do this painting. And someone came over to my house one day. I guess this is what really got the ball rolling. A neighbor came over with a friend, and she saw one of the paintings that I had in the house and said, "Oh, wow, I love your paintings. And, I'd like to buy one." And I didn't even know what to say. I was kind of like, "Oh, really? Okay." And so she asked what my price was, and I didn't have anything in mind because I didn't, expect that. So I asked what she was thinking, and we came up with a number, and she took the painting home, and that sort of sparked my wow, I think I can do this now. Maybe I can do this as my next career instead of just painting for pleasure. Maybe I can turn it into something. So then I started to paint every day and set the little goal for myself. I'm going to try to be in an art gallery, by the time I'm this age. And I worked really hard at it. And I'd say it was not even a year, and I got into an art gallery. I started in smaller ones, and then it just sort of evolved into, this professional art career that I love, that I didn't, I'm so glad that I kept going because it's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And did that teach you anything about the importance more of, because it seemed like, of connections at that point? Because once you decided you set getting into a gallery as a goal,
Yeah.
then it starts becoming like a brand that you're selling, like in connections that you have to make. And that starts becoming a much bigger and more important part of your focus, is being able to connect with maybe, did you start connecting with other artists or gallery owners? How did you start seeking out that business side of things?
I started out, well, before the gallery, I connected more with some artists. We were new to the area. We moved recently, and I didn't really know anybody. And my one neighbor is a painter, so she said, "Oh, do you want to go, you know, take this workshop? There's this great local artist, and it's, hard to get a spot, but we can, there's some empty spots or something." So I did that, and it was great because I got to meet a lot of other artists, and the teacher too, who's super talented and influenced me a lot. And that was great. And I was able to do little local shows that way. They had little shows in the cultural center.
Would you
And
bring your artwork to them?
well, we would paint in the class, and it was not, I don't know if it was a class, more like everyone would, the teacher would kind of guide you and whatnot, but it was
Like a
learning her style.
Right.
It was more so like that. I mean, we were all artists. I mean, I already was an artist. I
Like
knew how to paint
volunteer, like,
and draw, but it was kind of learning another technique, right? So if you take an artist workshop, which I've taken a few, I didn't train professionally as an artist, but I took a few that were very different from the way I paint, except for the one that I was talking about. But they, it just gives you skills, and building skills is a great thing. And then you decide how to use them, however you want to use them. So I connected with some artists that way, and then, set my gallery goal and hit that pretty quickly. And then did connect with other galleries. Yeah. And gallery directors. And I try to go to shows and collectors. I mean, you have to just get out there, getting out there and networking. It can never hurt to do. The more people you know, the better, and the more likely you are to find a connection. But you can't just sit around hoping that it's going to come to you, because I mean, it could fall in your lap, but more than not, you have to get yourself out there, and show your work and meet people
Like for you, it
and
was
make
like
connections. Yeah.
for you, it was just like a sign that that person wanted to buy the painting when they visited your house.
Yeah.
But that wasn't,
It
that
was,
just was, it was a sign that you could do it, but you would have to, if you wanted to actually make a career out of it,
oh, yeah.
you would have to invest yourself in building a career out of it, right?
Yeah. I
And
mean,
making those
what
connections.
it gave me confidence, I think.
That's good. Yeah.
And it's not like I didn't have it, but I think it made me just think more of a goal with it or a future. I wasn't thinking that much about it. I was doing it more for passion. And once that happened, I started thinking, well, maybe I can do something with this business wise. I mean, it is my passion. How great would that be if I could make that into something that could, produce some income?
It made you realize that people are willing to pay for what you love to do.
Right.
It's like you didn't even have to try. It was like all of a sudden you realized this person saw what you saw.
It
They
launched
loved
everything, I
Yeah.
think. And I
It
think I have her name somewhere. I would
changed the
love
way
to.
that you valued your work.
Yeah.
Is how I'm thinking of it.
It gave me that like, oh my gosh, wow, you know?
You said, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You said you think you still have her name somewhere?
I think I have her name like somewhere. Actually, I probably could get it because it was my son's friend's mother's friend who
Okay.
I'm sure we could get in touch with a woman, but gosh, and I remember, yeah, I mean, it would be kind of cool to thank her this
Yeah.
many years later, and she probably has no idea
Yeah,
how
that's-
influential she was
Right.
into my career as an artist.
That's
So,
crazy. Yeah.
yeah,
who
and
would've
maybe I
thought?
will do that. I thought about it, and then I forget about it, and
That'd be crazy because,
Yeah.
you think years later, if someone told you,
yep.
it's like saying years later, that one compliment you told me.
You
led
don't
to
realize
my
how a small thing like
career.
that can. Right. She bought an orchid painting too. I remember. Had a yellow background. It was a pink orchid. It was about this big. So yeah,
That's cool.
I know, it was really cool.
So I was thinking, people probably wonder, because I wonder also.
Yeah.
So you set getting into a gallery as your goal, but
Right.
how did you get into your very first gallery? What was your plan? Did you speak to gallery owners, or did you know any gallery
Yeah.
owners, or did you physically go to the locations, bring your work and show it to them? How did you go about?
Yeah, all of the above. But the thing is, I
Okay.
can't recall which one was the first one. I think it might have
Was it
been.
like Whirly or something?
No, I think it was in San Marco.
Okay.
They're no longer there anymore. I think it was Gallery Framery, maybe. It was a cute little gallery in Jacksonville.
So you just would show up
And
with
I would go to various
photos or with
galleries
actual
well, I didn't.
small paintings?
Yeah, well, then I didn't have there wasn't like an iPhone,
Yeah.
right? I had probably a flip phone. I don't know when iPhones came out, but 15 to 16 years ago, I don't think we had them. Or maybe people had them, but I didn't have one.
Yeah, I don't even know when the iPhone.
So
Like early 2000s or
and I didn't
something.
even really even do it the traditional way. I mean, people more so were sending mailers and stuff like that, or setting up appointments and to show your portfolio was kind of the way things were done then. But I just would show up with like my favorite painting in the car. I was so excited about it, and I didn't really ask what the rules were, or I just felt like this energy, like I need to go after this and do it. So I would go to little galleries and show them, talk to them, go in, look around, talk to whoever was there, if it was the owner or the gallery director. And then I had this small like painting that I loved, and I would whip it out, and
Yeah.
then a lot of times it was like, oh, we don't really have, we're not taking anyone new right now, and it is what it is. But I kept going to the galleries and found one that took my work, and then another, and then I ended up with probably, that was that one, and then there was another one that I was in. So it was probably like the two galleries at first. local galleries.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And it still was small. It's not like this was generating like this source of
no,
income.
this was
It
small
was really
time.
just
It was
putting yourself
starting,
out
it was
there.
putting yourself out there. You know, I made a couple sales, and then the second gallery, I did, I did pretty decently there. I would sell quite a few pieces there. And that was more, that one was a bigger gallery, and I'm going to say I ended up there longer because I think the other one might have closed. I don't recall. Um, and yeah, so I did that, and then it would just sort of evolve. Then I ended up in one in St. Augustine, and then I ended up in South Florida, and I ended up in California in one. It just and some of it was meeting other people during shows. You know, if a gallery had a show and an artist is there and I really like the artist and I really like the gallery, I would go to it and try to, get
Yeah.
pointers or tips or,
Just like
you
creative
know,
networking. Yeah.
you have to network, and you can't be afraid to show your art, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to have a thick skin because art is subjective,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
it's crazy. It's weird to think how networking is very different in the creative world of things compared to networking in, business. There's business networking events you can go to and meet
Yeah.
people. But in the creative world, it's much more on you.
You have to
It's
do
on
it.
you to put in the effort to figure out
You
where to
have to
go.
do
I
it.
mean, that's the same for these other networking events, but it's even more so in the creative scene where you have to
Yeah.
figure it out and
And it's
do your
not easy
research.
because when you're an artist, a lot of artists are, they spend a lot of time in their studio and they're not, they're more, I don't know, what am I thinking? It's on the tip of my tongue. They're more like, they're not super forward, they're not, their personalities a lot of time are, you do your work, but it's a little bit hard to get out there and market it. A lot of artists are really talented, but don't have that
More like a hermit sort
other,
of.
and not even a hermit, but you know what I mean? Like I'm more, not an isolated, it's not like
Right.
I'm isolated, but we just, we're not as outgoing, maybe is the word. And not all artists, but some artists, most artists are probably not as outgoing and don't, their beautiful work ends up sitting in their studio because you have to be able to do both in order to like have it as an art career. You have to be able to paint your paintings, network, get out there, show your work,
Hmm.
and kind of, hustle a bit. Like you have to be able to do that
Yeah.
and not worry about getting no's and not worry about people not liking your work because that's going to happen. It's part of
Hmm.
it. People are not going to like every painting they see.
Yeah. It's
Even
making.
like my family members. I have my sister, like she loves a lot of my paintings. And then some subjects, she just doesn't like the subject, or she just, she'll just tell me, I don't like that one. And it's okay. It's not, art is, we all have different art that we gravitate towards. Even I might love a painting and you might not like the same painting that I
Hmm.
like. So,
Yeah. Or you'll sell something that,
right.
you know, someone else in your family doesn't particularly like. And all
Exactly.
of a sudden you're selling it for, a solid,
Right.
like a
Yes.
solid chunk of change.
Right.
Which is, it's cool to think about.
I
I
won't
was,
say who, but there is someone in my family that does that.
yeah,
We won't name names.
there's, yeah, picky. Some people have picky tastes,
Yeah, and
Some
it's
people
okay.
are,
It's
have,
okay.
some people are picky for women. Some people are picky for art.
Right. But I think
It's,
that's the hardest part about getting out there is like maybe fear of
yeah,
failure, fear of being judged
anxiety.
because it is judged. Your art is judged.
Yeah, there's an aspect of
People,
pain to it and suffering that
it is pain and
you have
suffering.
to
Yeah.
let yourself be vulnerable
Yeah.
to being hurt or being
Right.
criticized.
Right.
And you
And you have
can't,
to try not to take it personally
right.
when it happens because it happens. I mean, and a lot of, you know, gosh, it does happen. I remember I was at this one show and it was like a big show. It was, I'm not going to say what it was, but there were a lot of different artists there from all over the country. And so there was this one artist that was talking to me, and he had showed me some of his paintings that were on the wall. And then I said, oh, those are great, and then we got talking about where we show our work. And I said, oh, well, my work, I happen to have some right in here. It just, the show was going on here and I had work right there in a gallery. So he's like, oh, okay, great. I'd love to see it. So I took him in to the gallery and he looked at it. He looked at my work. He kind of just looked at it with his face, turned around and walked away and didn't say a thing. It was like,
oh, man.
Bam. Like I felt like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, like it was a really horrible feeling. Like it was just in your face. Like he clearly didn't like my work and probably didn't like the fact that he didn't like my work and it was in a really nice gallery. So, it was his way of sort of, it just made me feel really bad. And so going forward, like I don't feel so bad now because you can't take it to heart. Art is something that, there's something for everyone and it doesn't mean it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this was in the beginning. I mean, this was years ago that this happened. And I remember being like, wow, couldn't believe it,
Yeah.
But those are the kind of things you just have to let roll off of you or you would never survive in the art world,
Yeah. That makes sense because
Yeah.
it goes for any sort of creative
Yeah.
work is you can't give too much to the criticism, and usually good works of art are things that divide people, right? It's something Rick Rubin likes to say is, you've created a good piece of work because 50% of people love it.
Right.
And then the other 50% of people hate it.
Exactly.
And that's what real art does. That's what it
does. And you can't be afraid because you will then just keep trying to stay in the box and make art that people love, which I think we all try to do in the beginning. But then, and I've tried to do in my career, mostly for reasons like this show that I was just telling you about. There are certain, people in certain shows and stuff like that, and certain artists that are really formally trained, they like, there's almost like standards that they want you to kind of go by. And my art does not necessarily fit the standard, right? It's a little bit more out of the box. It's a little bit, sometimes I am a little bit, off the wall with some of my colors. And sometimes I'm out of the line a little bit, but that's the way I like it. I like to leave some mystery or impression. And those are my favorite paintings. And people that are more formally trained sometimes don't like that, right? And that's okay. They don't have to like it. But at first I remember trying to prove something with my art. Like I can paint this very realistically, tongue tie. So watch me, right? It's like, but why am I trying to prove, right? We can all do, I can paint, realism. I can paint abstract. I can paint this way, but you need to settle on what makes you feel alive and what you like, not what you think someone else is going to like. I don't know if you get that. Am I rambling too much?
No, I get it. It's like getting your own vision.
Yeah, right.
Having your own vision and getting it out on and expressing it instead of just copying what there is.
Right.
Which is, there's a lot of skill to that also.
Right.
But something about being an artist is being able to have these visions that you can capture.
Right.
And I think a lot of it, why art speaks to a lot of people, is that these are visions that everyone has and everyone can understand, but artists are the ones who can capture them
and
express these images and visions that they have.
Right.
and people see that and relate to it, and it makes a lot of sense to them.
Exactly.
And that's what draws people into art. That's why we love it so much, is because there's that connection. Mm-hmm. And you're able to express that.
Exactly. It's trying to express something, and be true to yourself at the same time, and not try to necessarily paint this way because you think more people will be impressed because your skill is mad or something, which is not, at least to me, I don't feel like that's honest.
Yeah.
So I like, it's I don't know. Some people start out knowing exactly how they like to paint and start out that way. Other people, you have to find yourself. You have to find your voice. You have to figure out what style you like, what style kind of drives you, and it takes time.
It's an exploratory process.
It's exploratory, right?
It's hard to have a plan. It's hard to plan creativity.
I feel that it is. I feel like it comes when you get bubbles of it. I mean, I tend to get a lot of bubbles of it because I want to wake up first thing and paint every day. Pretty much, it's really hard for me to go through a day and not paint.
Do you ever have visions that you're like, you'll get a vision and be like, I need to paint this? That's like where you wake up maybe one night, you're like, I need to paint this. Kind of like, because sometimes sometimes I can have sentences pop in my head that are very poetic, and I'll be like, I have to write that down. Do you ever get that, but with images, and are like, I need to paint that because that's...
Sometimes. Like, I more so know I want to paint a subject, and I don't know how it's going to come out. It's just so hard. Like, to match how I feel about painting the subject it's like extremely, like, you're just passionate about it. Like, you can't wait to just paint this. But I don't plan my paintings most of the time. I might sketch them out, but, and I might use a few resources, but they never turn out unless if someone wants me to do a commission that looks exactly like something. I let them unfold as I paint them. So I'll have the idea and I'll have the vision of something, like if I wanted to create a figure with abstract and, them.
It's like the details aren't
right.
filled in yet.
I don't have the details. I don't have the actual painting in my head.
But you could envision it in many different ways if you wanted to.
I just envision how I feel when it's done. And I envision like being so excited about it.
You envision
not knowing what it looks like yet.
The feeling that it'll give you when you see it.
Yeah, right.
Because what I'm thinking is when I work on like doodles more, just drawing like little characters and silly little things that I'll draw on a whiteboard, or just for some of the YouTube videos I've done just weird little graphic illustrations and stuff.
Right.
When I'm thinking about that a lot, occasionally I'll get this idea in my head of a little doodle that I want to draw, and then sometimes I'm able to draw it out how I'm envisioning it, but sometimes it can be really difficult. Because that's how I imagine the more detailed the image is, the harder it is to capture that vision. So that's why I can feel like I can get that with very low detailed, simplistic doodles.
Right.
And even then it can be difficult. So it goes to show how difficult capturing detailed visions can be, because but at the same time how interesting a vision can manifest itself, that you can really see it sometimes and capture it. Other times it can be more a concept or idea that you really feel passionate about and want to get out.
That's sort of more so what it is for me, more concept and a subject, and I want to get it out on canvas. And most of the time I end up with something I like. I'd say, I don't know how divided up percentage wise. There's those paintings that I just, some of the ones that you paint, you're like, how did I do that one? Those are like your favorite ones. They come out, they almost like ooze out of you. It's like a period of, you're not even thinking at all when you're painting it. It's just happening. And then you're like, whoa, how did I do that again?
Yeah.
And those are my best paintings. The ones that I think about too much and overthink about. And, if you don't, it's not like I don't like them, but it's a different feeling than I get, it's just different. I'd say my favorite ones are the ones when you completely lose yourself and I'm not really thinking about the outcome. I'm just in the middle of the process. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Hard to explain that to someone who's not an artist. I don't know if someone who isn't in the arts could understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
Right. Because I have a lot of people ask me how I plan my paintings,
The analogy can be to say you don't know anything about art, but you play sports. You know that your best games are played when you're not thinking about anything. You're just truly fully engaged in what you're doing. There's not tunnel vision on the ball. It's like you have this wide open vision. You feel like you're just in tune with what you're doing fully.
You're fully in tune.
And you don't know how you're doing it. Cause then other days you'll be trying so hard and you just can't hit that performance. And you're like, what was I doing? This one game was so good. What was I doing? Then you can't replicate it though, because there's no process that gets you there. It really is just being fully immersed in what you're doing.
Exactly. Fully immersed in what you're doing is the key, I think, to a good painting.
Yeah.
For me, not for everyone. Everyone has their own process.
I think that for most good art and good creative works, that's kind of how it seems to be the trend, is that But I was going to ask you, there are some people who become artists that go through this formal education and they get a degree in arts and they get their master's and they study the art history and but what is that doesn't necessarily make you a good artist, right?
I feel that you learn a lot. You learn great skills, and I mean, I'm not formally trained in painting, so I don't know. Like I said, I've taken some workshops. I've had art classes and design classes, so I get it. And I know people who have got their masters in art and all that. That doesn't necessarily put you on track to be a professional artist. You have the credentials, but to me, you just have to do it.
Right.
And it doesn't matter, you could be self-taught or highly educated and, go through a great university, but I don't know that it matters,
Right.
I mean, I hate to say that. I don't want to diss on anyone who's studying art because I think that totally
makes sense though, because what matters is you learn, I think, this is me coming from me, but I think that you learn so much more if you practiced every day.
Yeah.
Say you're going to school to study art and you have to spend 20 something hours a week on this class, on these classes, studying art history and studying different art techniques. But the idea is that I'm thinking if you spent that equal amount of time just actually painting and doing art, you would learn so much more from doing it and gaining this experience that you can't gain through a textbook or through words or through somebody else telling you what to do. Right. You just have to do it yourself, and it's a skill that you have to practice.
Right.
And if you don't practice it, you lose that skill.
Right.
And so I was thinking of it as maybe going to school can increase the amount of tools that you have on your tool belt.
Yes.
And increase your arsenal, whatever. Like give you more
then you get to see
options.
The different types of.
But it's more about
creative jobs that you might want to go into.
Right.
Right.
It's about the driver, not the car, right?
Right.
It's about how you're using the tools that you have, not about the amount of tools that you possess.
Exactly. I mean, you see, artists that have successful art careers. Some are formally trained, some aren't. And it's just hit or miss. It's what. I
mean, look at Jackson Pollock. He just did splatter paint, but he did it. And so I
don't know what his background is, but
neither do I. Or I mean, there's Van Gogh, and he's
right.
And that goes back to the socializing thing. He became famous after, posthumously.
Right. Because he wasn't famous when he was alive.
He was very socially.
Yeah.
I think he was socially not there. Yeah, he was a weird dude. I think he had mental illness.
I don't know exactly what he
Well, he
had.
cut his ear off and
Well, I
he
knew that.
did a
Yeah.
bunch of weird. I think he had mental illness that if you look it up, I think there's something to that. But if he networked during his life, he might have been able to experience that fame while he was still alive.
Well, I don't know. I think in that time it was like he was a little too different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what
Yeah.
was in is in, and if you go outside of that box, you're kind of like looked down upon.
Yeah.
So now the world there's a lot more acceptance of all different types of art, and there's so many more platforms so people can get their work out there so much more, and it's just so different. I can imagine if he was alive today, like what would be. And part of it is, well, his art is amazing. It's like some of my most favorite art. But who knows? I mean, his story too was very, people just to think he produced all this amazing art, and I don't think he had really any income from it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I wish he did. I
Yeah, I
really
know.
do.
I know.
But he's influenced so many people. He definitely influences my work with texture and color with some of my pieces. Gets you to think outside of the box a little bit.
Right. He
When I
didn't
channel
color.
my Van Gogh.
Yeah, and he didn't color inside the lines. And when I was thinking back to
Yeah.
when you said you had this graphic design job that didn't provide you that freedom that you wish you wanted in your
Right.
expression,
Right.
it was a little bit more rigid. There was more lines to color inside of.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same goes for the animation industry, actually.
Oh, okay.
That usually when there's animators who will be hired, like a team of animators will be hired for making a new show or cartoon or whatever. And the shows that do really well are the shows that offer the animators a little bit more creative freedom in what they want to do. There's the ones that say, hey, you can do what you think for, these little details. Like they give them the plot and the premise and give them maybe these major components that they want, like I want this drawn like this, I want the character to look like this, but express this scene how you feel best.
Right.
How you feel it should be expressed. And these are the types of animators that love, like these kinds of projects, the animators love a lot more. There's a lot more passion that's put into the work, and it comes out better as a whole. It's
for sure.
A lot more character to it.
It makes sense. I mean, like even always when you have creative freedom is your end result, I think, going to be better. And it can be great when you don't have complete creative freedom. I'm not saying it can't be amazing and great. If you have someone who has a vision and they're directing and they're not actually doing the work, and they, have someone else do it, I'm sure, there's different situations. But as a painter, like when you don't have creative freedom or you have a commission when it's too thought out and it's like, I don't use this color and I want this many trees, or take out this mountain and don't use yellow. I did have a commission where it was like, okay, well, we don't like yellow. And I was like, oh, like yellow. It really screwed with the outcome of my painting. I think the painting came out beautiful. At the end, it was approved. It was great. But what would it have been if they didn't say don't use yellow? I mean, it really kept me from like just going for it. It could have been an even better painting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never know. But when you put roadblocks up for someone that's in a creative process, it changes things completely. It really does.
Yeah. It doesn't allow the ideas to flow as they should.
No, my favorite is, if someone has a commission and they say, complete creative freedom, we want, we love this subject that you do. Then it's like, yes.
Those are the best commissions.
And don't give me colors, don't give me anything. Then they're going to get like my favorite paintings,
mm-hmm.
just because I can just roll with it. If it needs purple, it needs purple. Because it does. I can't tell you why.
Yeah.
It just needs it sometimes. So
Yeah, that's cool. So do you think that you are a master at what you do, and also how do you think you become a master at what you do in terms of painting or creative, whatever it is you do? How do you become a master at that? And
I
do
think
you feel like one?
I don't always feel like one. I think I probably am one. I can say I am one. I've definitely put the hours in. I think it's been said by the novelist who wrote The Outliers. Who was that? Is it
Carl
Malcolm
Sagan?
something?
Oh, wait, why did I just say Carl Sagan? Oh my gosh, that's a meme. That's, I don't know who it was. Malcolm Gladwell?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Because I just looked this up the other day. Because I was wondering, wow, how do you know who actually said you're a master if you put 10,000 hours into something? And that's who it was. And, so I'm like tallying up all my years of painting. I definitely have put in the time. And I think for my, my palette knife work, I definitely am. I've definitely, I feel like I'm, there's always something to learn. I don't feel like I'm done learning, but I feel like I've gotten to a level where, I really know how to do my craft, my particular style or whatnot. But I think it starts out by, especially if you're an artist, by picking something and sticking with it. I know when I was done doing corporate work, I knew I wanted to do something creative. So I was thinking about everything. I wanted to be a sculptor. I wanted to be a illustrator. I wanted to be a greeting card designer. I mean, I even designed all these greeting cards at one point, and they did come out pretty cool. And logos. I wanted to design like I just wanted to do everything. I wanted to paint, and I couldn't. I just was like scrambling around trying to do everything. And then my husband said, "Hey, why don't you just pick one thing and do it really well?" And I think that's the best advice that anyone's given me. And so many artists that I meet, they were like me. It doesn't mean I can't still sculpt. I know plenty of artists that do sculptures too and are amazing at both. But I think if you have too many things on your plate, you never can quite get to that master level with any of them. You're kind of spinning around and around, and it's sort of picking that thing, which I said, okay, it's going to be painting, and just worked every day as if it was my job before it actually was a job, and turned it into a job. I said, I'm going to work. I didn't make any money from it at first.
Just fake it till you make it.
Exactly. I went every single day. I found time to paint, and I loved it too. I mean, I did not love it or I wouldn't have done it. So I think that's how you do it. And then I think when you get to the next level, there's this great, gosh, I was listening to these videotapes years ago by Earl Nightingale. It's like this old time guy. And it was so motivational to me. I didn't know what I was going to use it for. I knew when I found the thing I wanted to do that this would come in handy. And it was like, success is when opportunity meets preparedness. So that always stuck in my head, like just stuck there. So I worked my butt off. Was I selling paintings in the beginning before I got into a gallery? Well, one from my house. But besides that, before I got to the next level, I just painted and painted and painted and prepared. And then when the opportunities come, and you never think you're 100% prepared. So at some point, you just have to go for it, right? You just have to go for it. When do we ever think we're 100% prepared? Like having a baby. Do you ever think you're ready to bring a child into the world and have one? No, you just have to do it. Yep. You have to do it. So I think that's...
take the leap of faith.
You have to take the leap of faith. You have to be prepared. You have to put in the work. And I think if you stick with something and don't wear too many hats, it makes it, more achievable.
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, this is a great quote. It's like
Yeah.
faith is knowing that when you step off into the darkness of the unknown when you take that step, knowing one of two things will happen. You'll either land on solid ground or you'll learn to fly.
Right.
I really like that saying because it reminded me of that. It's when you were saying about making the analogy to having a baby, you just have to do it and
Right.
trust that
Right.
trust that you'll be able to get through it. There's going to be structure there and that.
Right. For so many things you don't feel ready in life for, but you just have to take the faith, like you said, the leap of faith, and know that you can do it.
Mm-hmm. And not giving up is a big part. I think consistency, but also the quote that opportunity is when opportunity meets preparedness. That's a great quote.
It's great. It's great. I had these these audio tapes I used to listen to in the gym, probably like 20 years ago, and I had them on my little, I don't even know, a little iPod thing. His book, and he had a lot of little stories like that. I don't really know. I can't think of any more, but that was the one that just stuck with me. That was like,
yeah, well, the good
golden.
things stick. The things that are good,
yeah,
you don't even have to write them down because
that
something's good because it sticks with you and you don't have to write it down. If you find yourself writing these things down,
yeah,
making these lists of sayings that you want, like this, this resonates with me and this one does, but the things that really matter are the ones that you just remember, and that's how you know that there's a lot of truth to it.
And it's such a good one. I mean,
yeah, that's going to stick with me.
It's not the only way to have success, but I think it's a great, quote.
It's
kind of
just a universal
be
truth,
prepared and get out there and try to make some opportunity for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And be prepared. Do the work. Put in the time. Put in the work.
Yeah, and there's this. Yeah, if you don't have the content or the consistency, then say you do meet the opportunity, it's not going to uphold itself. You're not going to be able to uphold the responsibility that this opportunity entails.
Right.
Because opportunity is not just, like leads to it. And opportunity entails a lot of responsibility with it.
Yeah.
It
does.
It's not all positive. It means that you're going to have to shoulder some sort of responsibility, and people are going to have to rely on you.
Right.
So you have to be prepared for that part of it.
Right. And prepared.
Otherwise, you're going to let people down, and then they're going to let you down. But in reality, it's you just letting yourself down because you weren't prepared, or that's something that'll make you more wise, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that's a good bit of wisdom right there.
It is good wisdom.
To learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
Learning that the hard way probably sucks.
Yeah. When if you have your whatever career you're in, art for me, if something just were to come up and all of a sudden, like, there's this great opportunity, but you just don't, you've got all the ideas and you have 2 great paintings, but you haven't put the time in and you haven't, gotten a portfolio together or actually, done what you need to do. And then you watch that opportunity pass by because you're not ready. That's like,
or take it and just screw it all up, and it goes horrible because you weren't prepared. And then that's something that'll really that will sit with you forever.
Right.
Those will be lifelong regrets, but they'll teach you that's kind of experience that will teach you something very valuable. I think.
But the leap of faith is sometimes you don't feel prepared, because I know, like, I don't remember which gallery, but I remember going into a gallery and trying to plan, like, okay, where do I want to show next? Okay. And kind of and I had a little more of a network then, getting in touch with certain galleries, which I was just really reluctant to. I had my little plan and I was doing well, so it's not like I couldn't execute it, but I just always felt I can't do that until I have more paintings that are better. Like, I just kept
just only
keeping myself from thinking I'm prepared. And yet I was prepared, but I kind of was holding myself back mentally thinking I'm not prepared enough. I'm not prepared enough. And
Mm-hmm.
and I was, and then finally I took the leap of faith and I was like, well, you know, you just have to go, you have to go for it sometime. You
Yeah.
can't just say I'm not prepared enough, because that could turn into 20
It's almost
years,
another
30
aspect.
years. Yeah.
It's almost another aspect of preparing, is that you have to also prepare yourself
You can,
in this other social way where
right.
it's like you can't just expect the first opportunity you get to be the one and only best opportunity. You have to try to put yourself out there and take small opportunities and prepare yourself that way.
Right.
It's like,
and not be, not feel like small is bad. I mean, gosh, you never know where your art can get great exposure. It could be in, you know, wherever it is. Don't snub small, you know? I mean, I think it's a good way to, it's a great way to start and make connections.
Yeah.
Some people don't start because they want to just start big, but
you can't, that's, yeah.
you know,
I always like to say that,
just starting somewhere is starting, and it's all,
that there's
it's all good.
I always like to say that greatness, there's no rush to greatness.
No.
Greatness never rushes itself. And the analogy I like to think of is like the oak tree that's in your backyard or front yard or whatever. Say you got a big pine tree or a redwood tree, the biggest trees in the world.
Right.
You know, they're these great, magnificent things of nature that have grown so slowly over hundreds of years. And it's so slow you can't even see it growing.
Right.
You know, it's just something that generations notice.
Right.
You'll just notice 20 years later the tree grew. Greatness, you know, there's no rush to it. It's a slow drip. It's and that's what makes things, that's how great things progress. If you look at in nature, you'll find that motif arise time and time again throughout many things in nature. The great things are the ones that have a slow growth, don't rush. The ones that grow quick and rush are the things that fizzle out before they gain any traction.
True. It could be like the turtle and the hare.
Right. Slow and steady.
Slow and steady can win the race.
It's like, it's such a powerful motif that's like a famous childhood story that was based off of it. It's It's just It's so true.
Don't not do something because you have to start slow or small, because so many people do. People that have jobs that you would never even dream of. How did that happen? Started out, you know, really doing real small stuff,
and
you know?
And don't make the things you regret in life things that you didn't do.
Exactly.
Like,
that's the only thing you can regret, is really not trying.
Yeah.
You can try and fail.
Like, regret things that you did, not things you didn't do.
Right.
Because you can't ever get that opportunity back. You don't really learn from that. It's like...
You do.
Yeah.
Failure actually, I don't know about you, but failure pushes me to work harder. So I think, oh gosh, I don't want to fail. But if I fail at something, or I think I'm failing at something, or it's not going quite how I want it, it kind of almost pushes me to the next level, because I'm going to be like, I'm going to work even harder to try to, you know, make this work. So instead of failing and being upset, you're upset, of course, you're disappointed, but to let it stifle you or sit in a corner and put all of your aspirations aside and not do the things you want to do because you failed, it should be like, no.
It's a waste. I think
it's
that's
kind
a waste
of like
of a life.
Okay, well, watch me. You know what I mean?
And it's a waste of a life, I think, to give up on things that you want.
It's
not a way to live. It's not like the things that make life meaningful are overcoming challenge, conquering things that you want to, whether it means failure. Right. And that's why I love the saying is, you know, the best time to plant a tree was 100 years ago. The second best time is now. You know, that famous saying, I forgot where it came from. Maybe the Bhagavad Gita. I don't even know. Wouldn't be surprised, but it's so true that and the more it's like, everybody knows that's a true saying, but I guarantee you could think of in your life, there's something that you want to do that you've held back on and you didn't do it because you're not sure about it, if it's going to work out. Right. People are going to judge you if you're going to fail, or if it's even worth it. Oh, I know, you know, just, it'll be stupid. I'm not going to do it. Not going to try it. And everybody can think of something right now.
For sure.
And it's like,
Or somebody told you you're not smart enough
The
or you're not good enough to do something.
Yeah, and the facts that you could sit here and agree with me on that statement that the second best time to plant a tree is right now. That means that just do it. Like whatever it is, I swear, like just do the things.
Right.
Take the
Just
risks.
try.
Add the variety to your life. Just start doing it. Even if it goes horribly, you'll rest easy at night knowing that you're braver, you're stronger, you know more about yourself, and next time you're gonna do it better.
Right.
And it's like, just even if your voice shakes and your hands tremble, just do it.
Right.
You can do it. And like nobody cares. And even though you know in your head nobody cares, you might not feel that way. You might get trembly and nervous, but just do it anyway.
Right.
Like push through that. You could freeze up, you could sweat at your armpits and make a fool of yourself, and
exactly,
or just fail so miserably at what you're doing. But it's like, it's so much more rewarding than not doing anything, because it gives this excitement to life that it makes you feel alive and makes you feel like you're actually contending with life and being a player and actually working towards something, even if it's just going horribly for you.
Right.
You start feeling this humility for yourself and just being able to love yourself in a different way, giving yourself what you deserve, not being afraid to put yourself out there.
And don't let somebody else be the one that keeps you from trying.
Right.
Because so many of
Give
us
yourself
have
what you deserve.
things that happened when we were little, or somebody who said something, or, I mean, I can think of things of people that I know. And then when you're 20 years go by, 25, 30 years go by, and you think it's too late to try that thing, which it probably isn't, you blame someone for it. But the only person you have to blame for not doing it is yourself, is what I think. I mean, yes, somebody telling you can't do something, I know it makes a lot of people not try, but you have to look past that and
even
use that
though,
as fuel.
The blame game still won't get you. Even if you blame yourself or blame other people, it doesn't get you anywhere. Like, you just have to, no matter who you're blaming, just get up today and do it and change that, because blaming people isn't going to change the facts that you still never did it. No matter whose fault it is, the regret of not doing something usually stems from you, but you just do whatever it is, put yourself out there, and it'll change that.
Exactly.
Because the second you start doing it, you no longer worry about all the time wasted not doing it. Or maybe I don't know. There's some things in my life that I put off for a while and was like, man, I wish I started years ago.
Right.
And then I started doing them, and I start getting into it, and it's like, it only lasts a short period, where it's like, if only I'd started this a few years ago, I'd be good at it now. But then when you start actually getting into whatever it is you're doing, you're like, okay, I don't know if I would have been prepared for this a few years ago, right? Or I might have given up because my mindset was different. I'm glad I chose to take it on now, because whatever it is that gets you to that mindset to take that leap of faith, just know that when you take that leap of faith, that's the sign that you're ready. Just the simple courage in taking that leap is the sign that you're ready to face whatever it is you're going to face. Mm-hmm. Whether it be challenges or failure. Mm-hmm. And but
it's all okay.
It's all okay.
I mean, it's all learning. It's all something to learn from.
Yeah, and you can I mean, you can know that you died trying, Right.
People who succeed often have a lot of failures under their belt, because it's just the way it is. I mean, nobody's perfect.
Right. And even, it's like one of those things, even if I know I would never forgive myself if I never tried to do certain things, even if I fail them. It's like, I wouldn't forgive myself if I just had died having never tried.
Right.
I needed to know.
Right.
At
least I tried.
Gain the experience.
And do, right.
You can't just think yourself into finding the answer to things. Sometimes you have to actually get out there
and sometimes the best part is the actual journey, the journey to the top of the mountain. And then when you get there, it's like, okay, now I need to climb another mountain, because
it is
the best part of
The journey
The
is the
success
destination.
is getting there, and that part is, yeah.
The journey is the destination, and that's something I've
Right.
noticed to be true also
Yeah.
for a lot of things. Is when I don't have anything to do, that's when I'm most miserable. When it's like I don't have any plans or any projects or anything to work on that can better myself.
Right.
I start sitting there, and that's why I also like to try to have this aspect of spirituality, and
Yeah.
I really like Eastern and Western religious teachings, and there's Buddhism and Christianity, and when you start looking into that,
Yeah.
it's like I'm able to pursue my interests when they're there, because I love doing it, and the pursuit is the fun part. But then when there's
Right.
nothing to do, to just learn to just take a breath and exhale and be able to sit there and be like, and just enjoy life.
Yeah.
You can't,
You can't be on the hamster wheel for too long.
right. You have to be moldable.
Sometimes you need to get off of it.
Yeah.
Or not even get on a hamster wheel per se. But I know what you
Yeah.
mean. It's hard for me I get so engrossed in what I'm doing and creating paintings and getting them out to the galleries. And I got to paint new ones, and I got to have shows and keeping everything afloat. But stepping away from it is hard, because then it's like,
It's hard to find.
how do I step away from that? It's just so much that I'm constantly doing.
If you're not
But
used
it's
to
good.
it,
Yeah, you need to.
if you're not used to it, it's hard to find peace in the silence.
Right.
But that's something that's very valuable. Is if you can find peace in the silence,
Yeah.
then you end up
Yes.
becoming a lot happier.
Right.
First of all, and then also when your next project does arise, you pursue it with
Taking
a
a pause.
with a
Yeah.
less desperate attitude.
Right.
And you enjoy it more for what it is,
Mm-hmm.
for the fact that you even just have a project to work on, that you cherish it a little bit more.
Right. Right. And I think
Instead of rushing to get it done,
that's important. That's what I'm going to work on this year, is finding more pause time and being more mindful of that, and quality over quantity, not rushing to, like you said, hurry it up. It's not a sense of urgency. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Be in the moment, enjoy it. When you're done with a great project, take a little pause. I try to meditate every day too. I mean, it's been, it was every day, and now sometimes it's not every day, but that actually helps. If you meditate, you could just at least take that 20 minutes a day, or if you do it twice a day, that really helps. You just calm your senses down a little bit.
For sure.
To
How
make
about
room.
this? For me, I know the answer to this for me, but for you in a creative work, how does exercise affect that?
Exercise does help. It really does help. I feel like, more so lately, walking, which I was really more of a total exercise freak. And then I had some injuries and had to tone down my exercising, and then just didn't exercise for a while. And now I'm back to doing it, not as regular as I want to. I do feel a lot better. It sort of relieves a lot of stress. And normally I'd want to do crazy cardio, but I'm taking the time to do more walking and being outside in nature. And I feel like that really helps a lot.
Yeah.
Like it's just almost like a meditation in itself. Something I wouldn't do before. I just thought it was a waste of time.
Yeah.
Why do I want to walk? I'm going to go get on the stairs and climb those for 40 minutes.
I agree. Time outside,
Yeah.
I think, is big. Being outdoors for me
Right.
helps a lot.
Now I like
That's
to do
why
that.
I've mentioned, like, I like to go to the pickleball courts, and it's
Right.
mostly just because I get to spend
Time
a
outside.
few hours outside socializing with other people. That's something that
Yeah.
I noticed for my life. I've had a lot of things really tightened up on my life in terms of exercise. That's
Yeah.
something I'm super strict about. I love
Yeah.
exercise. I love eating healthy. It makes me feel
Right.
great, and I just have got it dialed in.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't exercise, I would be a
Probably.
much less happy
Yeah.
person. It's a huge part of and I'm a big proponent of, is my perspective, is get
Yeah.
your heart rate up
Yeah.
and sweat, get the pump go, like
Mm-hmm.
really put stress on yourself and
Yeah.
get your heart rate up. Like that's a big part of
I
my.
agree.
A lot of people
been really
just
bad at it.
a lot of people
lately.
just lift weights,
Yeah.
but that's my take. But then at the same time, I've gotten back into school, started reading, writing again, doing all this. And it always felt like there was something missing from my life, something major. It was like I'm doing all these positive things. I'm meditating, reading, writing, exercising. I'm like so healthy.
Yeah.
I could see it. Like I look in the mirror and I'm like, I look so healthy, but why does it just feel like something's missing? Why is there, like I'm the healthiest I've ever been, but why am I just not
So what was
happy
the missing?
still?
What was the missing piece?
And I think a big part of it that I realized was, it's like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is like, I was missing the social aspect where I had all these other things that were just to a T, but I never was able to reach the point of self-actualization because I didn't have that social aspect filled in. And it's like, it's the final piece to the puzzle. And so that's really, I think, what was missing.
Okay.
And so I started going outdoors and meeting these new people and socializing. And even though at first it was like, it was easy to be like, this is a waste of my time. I'm not working on what I want to do. But then I started realizing, I was just, that feeling of missing something was like slowly subsiding.
Right.
It was still there, but it wasn't as strong. And I was just kind of okay with it. I was like, maybe something still is missing, but I'm okay with that,
Right.
And eventually it started getting just less and less to the point where I realized that's what I was missing. I couldn't hit that actual self-actualization stage because there was a huge piece of the puzzle missing.
Right.
And now that I've hit that, I've
you have to
sort
be
of filled in that gap.
Right. It was a piece that was missing, but you have to be vulnerable to sort of make that part of you, especially if you're not naturally. Some people are naturally like that. Yeah. Like, for example, my sister, when we grew up, she was very naturally outgoing and I was not. I remember even as a kid having her, I can't remember to say this, I'd have her go to the ice cream man and order the ice cream for me because I was too shy to. And I was really shy growing up. And then learned the skill of I had to learn how to put myself out there to be social. And once you do it enough, the fear goes away and you realize, wow, everyone's just here feeling just like you are. People just want to, half the people out there are more afraid to talk to you than you are to talk to them.
Right.
And there's nothing to be afraid about, right?
You realize like this person that you thought was, could have been just intimidating is super, super nice, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I learned was that when I started doing that is now that feeling that something's missing with my life is gone away a lot. Or like my other aspects of my life have improved in so many different ways. There's more variety to my life. I'm able to express myself more creatively. I'm less brought down by my own desires. I'm able to just accept that, let go of certain desires easier. And there's still that aspect of, something's missing. Still get that.
Well, I think everybody probably gets that.
Yeah, we're all human. There's still...
You're young and you're on a journey as to where you're going to end up with your career and all of that stuff. You have a lot. I mean, we all have uncertainty.
But nobody's perfect. Nobody's like this. Nobody's happy all the time. There's always going to be something. But I've noticed that other aspects of my life have improved even though I've put less time into them, just because I've become more well-rounded. It's like I started putting less time into these obsessions I had, but then I stopped putting as much time into these obsessions I had and started socializing more. And in turn, the things that I was obsessing over, I actually improved at, even though I was spending less time with them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I just was able to reduce the stress in my life. And
it's true.
Fill in a need that I think I was mistaking for. I never knew. It's something I wonder if this society is, if it's unique to this society, but I feel like, or if it was unique to maybe just me, but I just thought that for a while that socialization was not something you need.
Oh, it is something you need.
Yeah.
They do all those tests. They did tests in the laboratory about, I think it was rats, and they would say the opposite of addiction is connection.
Right. And I knew this, but I think I just became desensitized.
Because you're so lonely. Yeah.
Yeah. You become desensitized to the fact that you just get used to it. You're like, you become so okay with being alone that you forget
Yeah.
how rich life is with other people.
Right.
And then you start meeting other people
Yeah.
and you're like, whoa,
Right.
like this is a whole other universe out there that I was missing out on.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
I was just like I was only eating mint chocolate chip, but there's a whole damn ice cream parlor.
There's fudge, hot fudge too, and like a waffle cone.
Oh yeah.
No, I get that. Yeah, you don't realize what you're missing, and it's really easy to, especially in this day and age, not socialize because so many people are on screen, online, social media, that they don't have to. They feel like they're connecting with people, but they're not. They're not talking to people
Right.
physically. They don't even know how to have a conversation on the phone. They have to text it.
Yeah.
Because
Common
of all
theme
of that.
it's a common theme that keeps rising on this podcast.
Well,
'cause
it's a
so
bad
true.
thing, I think. I mean, I think it's
yeah.
great because I feel like I've become smarter with the internet because I look up so much stuff that
Yeah.
I never could look up before.
Double-edged sword. You have to use it responsibly.
But it also, I feel, especially as a creative person, and I know with, having teenagers at some point when it can really, really, really mess with your self-confidence and how you feel about yourself, raising kids and seeing
and your desires and the whole system
and comparing yourself to other people when
triggers
you need to stay in your own lane, right? You can, it's constant information,
for sure.
and I feel like it takes away from my creativity when I spend
for sure
time on. I'll scroll through.
It'll dampen your thoughts,
Right.
and
I'll
visions.
scroll. So the social
And
media,
motivation.
because I have to. Right. I have to post some. I don't do a ton of it. I post a little, and then I'm bombarded, and I can't even think. And then you're seeing
It gives
all
you,
of these other people, and it's too much.
it's like it's akin to like smoking a cigarette. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna go on social media for 20 minutes. To me, it's like smoking a cigarette, and then now I'm just gonna be brain fog for the rest of for like the next 2 hours. Like
yes,
maybe
it brain
there's
fogs me.
right. It like makes your brain desensitized to dopamine, and so you need this higher burst of dopamine, higher stimulation to get what you to get stimulated.
Right.
But then you go back to painting, and it's just not the same amount of dopamine release that you're getting from looking at a screen, watching these shorts. You start painting, and it's like the way it works is the screens will spike your dopamine like real high, whereas reading and drawing and painting is a gradual increase in dopamine. And so when you desensitize your brain to it, these things that gradually increase it just aren't rewarding, and so you aren't prompted to do it again. You think you hate reading because it's boring. No, it's just because your brain has been trained to have ADHD. Like,
well, now I think my brain
to dopamine.
grew into ADHD because of technology. And maybe I was growing up. They didn't really focus so much on that as they do now. I'm sure they probably would have said I have it. But, now if I am like looking and scrolling through my phone too long, like I cannot even think. And then it gets you out of it. Like you're in your lane with your groove, creating your stuff. And then it's great to look and see what other people are doing. But it also, sometimes it's not good. I think sometimes it's good to just focus on what you're doing. Focus on, really just focus on what you're doing and not, think too much about what everyone else is doing. And that is the same thing for like, I'm rambling, but like for young girls on social media, like their whole self-esteem is crumbled because they're watching and looking at other girls that have filters and makeup up the kazoo and posting. You see people at the beach now. I mean, we live right near the beach. You see people at the beach that are there with their friends. It should be like enjoying the day at the beach, but they're stopping and starting pictures the whole time. It's like 1, 2, 3. And then everyone jumps up and they take a picture. And then afterwards, everyone's on their phones. And like, no one's really having fun. All they're doing is posing.
And then we wonder,
the world. And then the girls that are sitting home by themselves feel horrible about themselves when they see that. It's terrible.
Then even the
I
ones
hate it.
doing it, even the ones doing it, then they wonder why they're depressed.
Yeah.
It's because people have forgotten how to be present.
Right.
People who do that type of stuff and are.
Well, it makes me sad. I wish that nobody was doing it.
It's like you mistake. You don't know what you want because. Well, what's sad is for these kids is they don't know what they want because maybe they've never had it. We're hitting the point where parents are just giving their kids
babies
screens.
Grow up with screens.
Yeah, they're not having a childhood anymore, so they don't know what they want because they've never had what they actually want.
They don't even get what they're missing.
Yeah, so when they get older and get a little bit of freedom, it's like, what do I do? Oh, I'll just be on my, like, I don't know. I'll just go on my screen, you know? I don't know what else to do. Mm-hmm. They don't know how to be present and actually find more to life in what's right in front of them.
Find meaning in other things or in silence, like you said.
Yeah, to find peace in silence.
Yeah.
And then also, but there's something about being a teenager where you just get bored a lot.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you want to do, but I feel like it's just getting worse and worse with these screens because.
But when you're bored, you're forced to do other things. You're forced to either do nothing, okay, fine, or you're forced to like just the things we used to do as kids, right? Like because, I mean, you had phones, but like I don't know if there was iPhones when you were little, but like you still had normal childhood, I think, right? And then after you...
I had normal childhood and I got like an iPod Touch when I was younger, but I never used it that much. It was...
A few years after you when it became more screen.
I started using my phone more. Even then, like... Even then when we got our first phones, I got my first phone and it was an iPhone 5C. I was in 6th grade, I believe. I was 11. And I get it. And, you know, I don't just go on it and start. The technology was different then. You know, there was probably half the amount of shit on the internet that there is now. Half the amount of web pages, half the amount of apps.
Yeah.
It was just, there was less stuff
because
it's growing exponentially.
Facebook or Instagram then.
There was, but.
Was there? Okay.
It was different. It was different. Then the memes weren't as much a thing.
Right.
You know, it was more wholesome. Instagram was more like personal profiles. We're going to post what. Yeah. It wasn't something people were on all day just watching memes. And I guess you
could, or reels.
At least me and my friends. But I got my phone and the first thing I do is, you know, it's Christmas morning. I'm going to go hang out with my friends and show them my phone. They got a phone also. We're going to hang out. We're going to go outside. And it was cool. Like it was just, it was an augment to my life. It didn't become my whole life that I got this phone and now it's all I want to do. No, it was like this. I'd get a text and be like, oh,
it was like an addition.
I get to use my phone now. Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't like there were all these ways
to just... It wasn't like you grew up with it and that's part of you.
Yeah. And no, there weren't all these ways to just be like completely sucked into my phone all day. It would be, I just would, you know, I'd hear my phone get a text. I'd be like, now I get to use it. Cool. I'd use it for like a minute and I'd put it away and be like, gosh, phones are so cool. You know? Now
I'm
it's
so glad they didn't have them when I was little.
Right now it's like you get the iPad and next thing you know the kids open up Minecraft on it and are just on it all day or
it's crazy
or whatever.
I don't think it's good
for
like
Fortnite, whatever they're doing.
Kids. I mean, I really think I am no doctor, but I really think that the next generation of kids' brains, there's going to be so many more people with ADHD and with issues because of the attention. I just think it's going to be harmful.
I just
in
worry,
a lot of ways.
I think it will be because we're going to lose a bunch of social skills.
Yeah.
But I worry for the time when so it's I just don't see technology lasting forever because it's delicate. It's hard to understand. It's a very, very small percentage of people understand how to actually make it and use it. And even then it's teams of people and machines building a lot of it for us. So if we ever lost the grid, if there was some sort of catastrophe that wiped out technology, and we wouldn't be able to get it back immediately.
No.
And also that's when I would think that the effects really set in is like these people aren't adapted. Well,
hopefully that never happens.
But again, people are quick at adapting and I think they would learn quickly to socialize again, but
I just don't think a lot of people know how to socialize. And when you come across, because I do a lot of art shows, so, you know, you see a lot of kids that probably are just in their phones all the time. But when occasionally I'll meet one who's there with their parents and they can just have such a nice conversation. It's so nice to see. Like, they weren't spending all their time on their phones because they know how to really connect, and it's just different. It really is.
Yeah. It really was a different time when,
Yeah.
or socially, it's like socially we have regressed in a sense.
Very much so. Very much so. Well, when you go anywhere, where I go anywhere, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm not guilty. I'm trying to be more mindful of it, though, especially this year. But you go to an airport, you go literally waiting for an airplane. You can look at almost every single person surrounding you, with except maybe you can count on your one hand how many people are not sitting there with the head in the phone.
Right.
And just think, like, we used to sit, read a book, talk to the person that's next to you. Like, people just don't know how to sit because it's really uncomfortable for them.
Exactly.
Or go out, if you have to go out to dinner by yourself when you're somewhere, to just sit there and eat and not be like having to be on your phone the whole time. Or when you see a couple out to dinner and one of them's on, or they're both on their phones the whole time.
It's like awkward.
I'm
it's
like, why are they even, what's happening?
I agree. It's like kind of
I don't
upsetting.
like that. I don't like that.
And it's a regression of social aspects of between people. But what also I really liked is there's this quote I was reading the other day from this book, and I took a photo. It's from the Tao Te Ching by Confucius, or Lao Tzu, and he said that one of the problems in societies that start declining is there's the idea that let me find it. He came up with this idea of a rectification of names, and the idea of this is that at the time society was deteriorating, and people advocated the these people like Confucius advocated the conscientious return of values, such as one of these values was the use of proper names and titles of the aristocratic hierarchy. And at this time, these names and titles were being bought and traded, or simply taken over by force. And so this is the idea that these words that used to have meaning were being bought by other people, and they were being, titles and stuff. Words were sort of losing their meaning because they were given various other meanings, and there was not much merit to what words actually meant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They were losing, like, if you were called this, it didn't mean, if you were called the king, it didn't mean that much anymore because people were just taking these titles and I think that's the idea, but they would advocate for the rectification of names. And I thought this was so interesting because come on, where is it? Okay, yeah. So this problem, he declared that words and titles should be made clear, for once terms were cheapened or not used as they ought to be, public discourse becomes confused and thinking becomes muddled.
Interesting.
And I thought that was brilliant because he was seeing this decline in his culture, and so he was thinking of, and terms and titles and names were losing a lot of their value and meaning.
Right.
And so he would advocate for the rectification of names, that if we need to start restore the meaning of these words because you can't have proper discourse. And you're thinking, you can't communicate the ideas effectively because the words have lost their meaning. So I was thinking that's something we see in society today with people, what is a woman?
Right.
There's people that'll say, I don't know what a woman is. They're changing the meaning of these words, and so now public discourse is becoming,
it's like a breakdown of
idiotic.
Society.
Yeah, it's like we're arguing about what is a woman. Like, excuse me, like that's like, how have we gone from such a intellectually capable society to arguing over what the word woman means. It doesn't make any
Right.
sense. It's like,
Right.
and that's
Well, if he had
what
had
reminded
that
me
one
of,
years ago, imagine what he would be thinking
right. We need to,
with that.
there needs to be the restoration of names in that
Right.
sense.
That's a pretty big one too. I
Yeah.
mean, man, woman, you know?
Where people like, there's this agreed upon meaning
Yeah.
of what words mean and what titles mean. You know,
Right.
woman it's basically a title. It's like, okay, it's a description
Right.
of what you are, and we're assigning a new meaning to this title. And all of a
Right.
sudden, now these, like, a whole group of people can't think properly, and public discourse is just so confusing because of it.
Right.
Because it doesn't make sense why we're arguing about what in the world.
Right. And then imagine what little kids think that are growing up with the confusion. It's
Right.
got to be
Like, the social
not
aspect is
good for
deteriorated so
them.
much.
Yeah. Yeah. In a world of it's uncertainty and it's chaotic. It's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Too much. There's too much. It's
And these are
great.
things that people have noticed
Yeah.
like 2,500 years ago.
Right.
2,500, like, this is when that was written, and
Right.
this is things
So
that people will go
imagine
through. Like,
that.
it's just something that happens in
But they say
society.
history repeats itself often, so you have
It
to,
does.
you know.
Even if you know the history, it's the way societies work. Is they
crazy.
just
Yeah.
fall into these grooves and habits and behaviors, and it's just the way things go. And hopefully it doesn't become too serious, because that typically was a sign of a society that was falling apart, is when names and titles were losing their public meaning
Right.
and losing their value. And hopefully that is something that this society can start to overcome.
Right. With all the knowledge we have, you would think people would be more in tune with that.
Right. It's like yeah. And one of the ideas is that it's like your ideas start. It's, yeah. It doesn't make sense. And so that goes back to the whole phone thing with with kids having phones these days.
Yeah.
I wonder if they even notice any of this happening, or it's just normal to them.
Right. I mean, I really
There's
think there
not-
should be a thing that, as a mom, that kids should not be given phones and electronics. And I don't know that the world, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, none of us had phones when we were little, and trackers and this and that, and everyone survived. And it's just too much. It really is. The kids shouldn't be allowed to have all the social media. And it's because nobody's stopping it. Nobody's saying it's bad for our kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's bad
I just
for
saw
our
this.
kids. It's bad.
I just saw this video. It was a mother. The police knock on her door, and the police are, they have this warrant for her arrest.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm sorry, what did I do? She's this nice looking young lady, and they're like, sorry, you're under arrest. They put her in handcuffs. They take her to jail. It turns out she was being under arrest because she had a 10-year-old boy, and she told him, they lived kind of, I think, in a rural area, and she told him to go walk, he could walk to the store. I think it was to the store, or maybe it was to school.
Right.
He was walking somewhere. It was a couple miles away. He was walking a couple miles away from home, and she let him do it alone when he was 10. The police were coming, arresting her for neglect and trying to take her children away from her. Whereas just 40 years ago, it was just come home when the street lights come on.
Right.
And now it's becoming a crime to let your kid go to the store without unsupervised. It doesn't make sense. Like, what is happening?
It's just, there's a lot of fear based. Everything, so many things are fear based now. And without the technology, it just was the way it was. I mean, you were responsible. I mean, I'm sure a lot of my friends, I'm just trying to think if my mom worked when I was young in school, no, but then older, yes. But people they just came home from school. We didn't get escorted to the bus stop, and, we didn't, nobody knew they didn't know our exact whereabouts every single minute.
Right. How about hitchhiking? That used to be a huge
Oh
thing.
gosh, I never did it, but I guess it was a thing.
Yeah, people would do that all the time. I think it was very common practice.
Yeah, it was a very common practice, but yeah, it's just the world is a different place. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
do you think that art is do you think that technology has improved your artistic skills or been a hindrance to them overall? Like does technology play a role in your art at all?
Well, it doesn't play a role in my art. It it can play a role in the ease of just showing clients things right away, or galleries, having your website where people could look at it. If they want to see your artwork and they go into a gallery, but they want to look again, they can look on your website. And then, it just makes it more accessible to look at. And I guess, people could, it's just out there. There's a lot more places for people to see it, which is nice because you have galleries, and some people don't do galleries at all. They just do social media platforms. But in as far as my art getting better, no. I feel like if I'm on social media too much, it hinders my art.
Right, like we were
Because
saying.
it keeps me from questioning who I am as an artist. And I already know who I am, and I have to not
You can
look
only
at or think about what anybody else is doing and just do my own thing. And that, I
a
think,
double-edged
hinders.
sword,
Yeah.
the internet.
Yeah.
You got to use it for good, but it's also
Yeah.
the only person you should be comparing yourself to
Is
is
you.
yourself yesterday.
Right. Okay. Exactly. And that makes sense. And I think it puts a lot of that out there, and it's great. You could, like, I can see a lot of art, and it's great, but it's too much stimulation for my brain, and I think it hurts my creativity, and I don't want to be influenced. I want to have my own voice, and I think sometimes that can get in the way. So I'm going to be posting my stuff, but not looking so much at all. I just don't want to be on social media so much this year. So yeah, so it's totally both. It's weird, but it really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think these are things that when you start paying attention more, you can realize how much social media plays a part in your life.
Yeah,
When I know when I spend time away from it, I get much more clear in the head.
clear. Yeah.
My thoughts become more crisp. I get better ideas. I'm
Yep.
able to socialize more clearly. And my desires
Yeah.
start becoming a bit more normal and more realistic
Yep.
and just more wholesome,
Yeah.
like let's
I
just
agree.
start desiring more just peace and connection rather than money and fame,
Right.
those are
I don't feel like
dangerous
that's
things to desire.
I think so too. Money and fame is.
It's something the internet makes you
I
want
don't like.
because
Yeah.
it shows you so much of it,
Right.
and you think that it's such a great life. And I think money is great, but I think what most people want when they desire money is not the money, but the freedom and power that the money will provide them with, and that it seems to provide
Right.
with people who have it. And there's a lot of truth to that, because I'm sure you gain a lot of freedom if you have a lot of
Well, you
money.
have freedom, right? That you don't have to worry as much as someone else about your bills or this or
Yeah,
that.
you have much more independence.
But it also
freedom
can
over your own life.
destroy you. I mean, it also
Certainly.
can be the root of evil. It can have you staying in situations that are toxic, or environments that are not helping you thrive or move forward, because you are kind of focused on, oh, well, this is a good money thing, but it's at the expense of a lot of other important things in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something to pay attention to.
Right. The things that you remember in life are not the things you buy or the things you do with money.
No.
It's the best
Right.
memories involve other people and
Right.
connection.
Right.
It doesn't
Exactly.
involve technology.
Right. Most of us have all we need, but don't even realize it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And money is great. Like you said, it helps pay the bills. But if it's your only thing, you know, hopefully you can follow your passion and work hard because the journey is the great part of it. But if you're chasing the dollar at the top of the mountain, I think I don't know. I don't think that's the way to go about it. Chase it because you're following your dream and you're going for it. And often the money comes along with it, you know,
Yeah.
not worrying about the money part of it so much. That can often get in the way of good decisions that you make.
Mm-hmm. Like if you're having fun,
Yeah.
the rest will fall in place.
Right.
Usually.
Right. A lot of times it does fall in place. So I agree.
Yeah, it's kind of like you were saying earlier is you didn't start out wanting to make a business,
Right.
but you realize it changed your perspective when somebody just offered you money out of nowhere. It was like, okay,
Right.
like
Right.
hold up.
I mean, I knew I wanted to do something creative, but I really didn't necessarily think that was as
Yeah.
achievable.
Like the money wasn't the root of your
No, not at
it
all.
wasn't the motivator.
Not the motivator at all. Not the
But then it
motivator
became
at
some
all.
sort of I think the one thing that makes money also attractive is that you love art so that
So
if
much.
you can make it your job, then
Right.
you can spend all your days just doing art.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be a side thing. It could be a full-time thing because it's sustaining
Yes.
itself.
Yes.
And I think that's where it becomes like
Gratifying.
really gratifying, and that's where people can get desperate because all they want there's some people all they want to do is make art, but they have to go to this 8-hour shift
Yes.
every single day,
Yeah.
and they can't work on their art as much as they want to.
There
And
I know people that have that, and it makes me I I don't know, it makes me feel sad, or it makes me feel grateful that I'm able to do my art full time. And when there's other artists out there that are so good, you want them to be able to carve that time out to do it. And it's hard. It's hard to juggle it all. It really is. I
mm-hmm.
mean, I was juggling it when my kids were little, and it was hard. I definitely probably came up to my studio too often. But it was a part of trying to, you know, do what I needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
All right, quick bathroom break. We're back though. So I was wondering, because you're a mother, and how does obviously your mother, but how does does being a mother play into people? I mean, people say it's the best. Becoming a parent is the best thing ever. How does that play into? Is there into your art? Does it play into that at all? Is there any connection there, or am I just?
no, there definitely is a connection. I'd say, like, my art is very, even if I'm not painting something and painting, say, a landscape, or I had this tree series that I did, and I called the series Hope. So there was a lot going on in my personal life. I'm not going to go into anything, but just being a mother, you can pour your heart into your paintings. It's very therapeutic and healing.
Like love for a child you're pouring it into
Love, but pain
mm-hmm.
and just everything. It's like you pour your soul into it. I can't explain it, especially if you're going through something hard and maybe one of your kids is involved. It's very, or anybody, in your family. I mean, It really, I think I pour my energy, whatever I'm going through comes out in my paintings. It really does come out in my paintings.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely pushed them in different directions. And it really, I think I can attribute it to the different things that I've been through as a mom.
Right. So
In my, in my life, personal life.
yeah,
I don't just paint and sit down to paint
a lot
a
of the
lion or a
inspiration.
woman or the Eiffel Tower. I paint and I pour my emotions into it, and it's just hard to
And
explain.
being a mother is a big part of what shapes
It
those
is.
emotions.
And when something going on in your child's life, whether they're an adult or not a kid or whatever, it really takes its toll on the mom. Like, I think we try to take on too much because we don't want to see, we want everything to be perfect in our kids' lives, and it is not always like that. At least it's not like that in anyone's life, really. But so my situations and some times in my life that were more difficult, you might see different series that I've painted or different color palettes that I've used. And this one particular series that I did, I called it Hope. I had aspen trees, and I had a couple forests with the aspen trees and the colorful leaves, but I hid cardinal birds in all, throughout the painting. And that was just because of the symbolism of the cardinal. And you see a cardinal, there's many different meanings. Some people will say it can bring you hope, or it could be a loved one coming to visit you, or it could be, just a lot of good things. So I kind of made that a thing while I was going through a hard time. I just
So like, did the cardinals represent your children almost? Like,
well, sometimes I'll put 3 cardinals in the trees because I want my kids. I just do that.
your
So
you have 3
my 3
children.
kids. So, and then I started, anytime I would do a painting that had a tree in it, even palm trees, I would sprinkle, and they were really impressionistic. So, you wouldn't necessarily know it was a cardinal if anyone didn't tell you. Kind of like putting them in just to, I don't know, make me feel better. I can't explain it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it would add like
character. Okay, all is good.
It would be the characters of the scene almost.
Kids. No, it gets hard to explain, but it does influence. At least my work is very influenced on mood, how I feel, what's going through in my life, especially with my kids, because that's, I think, what you take on the hardest as a mom is things that are going on in your kids' lives. And music, the mood I wake up in the morning, music that I put on, sometimes I'll be painting. I painted this one painting, and it was a lion, but not realistic, very like colorful and expressionistic. And, I loved it. It had just a lot of like good vibes going on in it. And I was listening to jazz when I was painting it. I was watching I don't remember what show, some crime series, and jazz was played a lot. So I was like listening to jazz, and funny enough, a jazz saxophone musician bought my painting. And when I found that out, he messaged me, and I was like, oh my God, that is so crazy, because I was like listening to jazz and then, all sorts of music like that when I painted this painting. And so it's almost like he felt it through the painting, which is pretty crazy.
That's crazy.
I know.
The mood can be
embedded, established.
Like a song in a painting can capture
right.
a similar vibe, I guess.
Yes. Which I didn't really know. Even though I'm painting the painting, I didn't know people were catching the vibes until they told me, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, I capture, when I listen to a song, like if it's a song that really moves me, like I could just cry. Like I'm like, so I didn't know that paintings, I never had a painting make me cry or feel that. I mean, my own when I'm painting them, yes. Have I actually had tears during a painting? Yeah, I have, because I've had a lot of stuff, whatever. And so then to hear, oh, somebody bought, a painting of yours and they were standing there staring at it and they started to cry. Like, actually, that could make me cry, thinking like it reminded them, it hit a point, like a soft spot in them, something that just tapped deep into an emotion.
The artist is able to capture.
And then like they felt
we were saying
it.
earlier.
I mean, they weren't necessarily feeling what I was feeling, but they were feeling something so deep that it made them, emotional, which is pretty cool,
Yeah,
because you picture songs more to do that.
And it's cool to think how it can transcend just this emotion of the emotions of happy and sad, and it can be so much more complicated it can go into specific scenarios, and also just saxophone. Like, what kind of a mood
I thought that was pretty wild.
Yeah, what kind of a mood is that? That's such a unique.
It was like wild and
mood.
Crazy hair,
and you can capture that unique mood in a painting. It's not like one emotion; it's this strange character and combination of them that you can express in the painting. Somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even mean to. It just happens because you're feeling it. So it's pretty interesting how that can happen.
Yeah. So the idea of that is really that you are expressing how you internally are feeling it. Again, it's like you're not trying.
I'm not trying to.
It's an expression of you as you are.
Right, because it could be something that's not even relative.
Like your inner state is. Your inner state of being is being expressed onto this canvas.
Yes.
It's capturing like a snapshot of your inner state of being.
Right. And I do like to kind of create a mood in each painting. And, sometimes you don't realize that what you're feeling can influence the strokes and the colors that you put down, which in turn can generate a mood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you find the colors have more mood to them than the lines and shapes?
No, I think both have their say.
Mm-hmm. It's the coming together of the two.
I do.
Neither one is important on its own. It really is the coming together of them.
Sometimes it is the color palette. Like I just did a boat scene that was very, 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 a lot of whites in it and a lot of grays and light colors. And it really created a mood, a sense of atmosphere in it. And it really wasn't necessarily the strokes, but then I could paint like the musician who bought my lion. The mane could be, I have all sorts of colors in it that aren't necessarily in a lion's mane, and the strokes, you could see the knife work, you could see squiggles, because I'm not worried about capturing a photo of the lion.
It's an impression.
It's an impression, and it's to the eye of the beholder.
Yep. I guess probably gonna wrap it up here.
Okay.
First I wanted to say though that this was a great podcast.
Yes.
Super
fun.
interesting.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you for doing this with me.
I could do it all day long.
Yeah.
I love to talk.
I love to talk. You would love to talk to David on this podcast.
I would love to.
David and Luke.
Yes.
You would love talking to them. They're great dudes. I've had them on other podcasts. But I've been sitting here and looking at this painting this whole time, and it's so good. I want to just show it.
Okay.
If you don't mind, if I may.
It's named the
I just was looking at it in the eyes, and it's
the Alpha.
It's powerful.
That's
just
its
the
name.
look in its eyes, I really like it. This right here, I was looking at it the whole time. I don't know if the colors are a little bit weird on this camera.
It's black and white.
It's black and white.
I'm keeping this
If
one
I
in
put
my
it in
collection.
this light,
Yeah.
it might be a little better.
Uh-huh.
But really good painting. I love this one.
Thank you. Well, it's staying in the collection, so
Beautiful.
who knows? Maybe one day you'll be able to
eyes,
nab it.
It's almost like it looks like an entity looking at me. Like
got a piercing look.
The look is like, it feels like someone is looking at me with this intense look.
Uh-huh.
It's just like they, and not even like an empty just presence. Like it's the look in those eyes are almost
The
like
look is like he's looking
it's like I
into your
see you.
soul.
It reminds me of
Right.
the Avatar. When they would say, you know, instead of saying I love you, they would say I see you.
I see you.
That's what it reminds me of. That the look in his eyes it's very deep.
It is very deep. And I think capturing the eyes, like I do lately, I mean, not only, I do so many different subjects other than lions, but my lion series is pretty popular. And they're really, I think, capturing, each one's unique, and capturing that look in their eye can really kind of make you feel something different. Some some of them make you feel more like sometimes they feel like a young teenage lion that's just cute. Sometimes they feel like they're fierce. Sometimes they feel like they're really looking through you.
That one's a much more mature,
Yes.
like wise but hardened sort of.
Yes, I love him too. Like lately, I feel like I'm keeping a lot of my lions. I think I'm keeping him too.
That's like a soldier look. It looks like a
soldier.
like,
and this one,
but
oh
a
my gosh, and I'm
wise-
keeping him too.
a leader. That's what that one really looks like, a leader. That one looks like the one to the left of that, the colorful one. That one to me really looks like someone who is just funky and like is very expressive and not afraid to be themselves, and is very like a fun person, like a bubbly.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, then if you're gonna
the attitude of that one is upbeat. Like I can almost picture.
He's bubbly. I feel like he's more like spiritual.
I could see him dancing. Like he looks like he just is good vibes.
Like,
this one in front of me though is intense. It's like again,
he's
like,
really intense.
Like
and
I
look,
see you.
one to your left as well.
Yeah,
they're everywhere.
He's like,
I didn't even realize I had
this
them all
one's
over.
just like trying to seduce you.
That one's like what I like about him are the colors in his. I mean, he's pretty expressionistic, and that's what I really love about him. Yeah. What's he named? What did I name him on the back? Did I write it? I didn't write it. Did I not even sign him? Oh my gosh! Because that one I did over a year ago.
No, yeah,
he's just been here because
there's a signature, but you didn't name him. Maybe you did in the books, but maybe you forgot to write it.
Wow, how did I do that? And then, you know, I feel like you can't just show my lions now. Hang on a second. Like, I really like this one too. Hang on.
All right, let's see it. I love your drink series.
I have a large one of these, but this is one of my favorite tropical landscapes.
I love that. That's really good.
And
the lighting again is a little off, but we could
see the color in it. We'd have to look at my website.
We could turn the light on right here. Do you want me to? Should I turn the
light on?
I'll try to like.
What does it?
Whoops. Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, the color's intense. I use a lot of great colors, but you can't see in the lighting here unless if you're.
You can't get it in the mic, but
you have to. Oh.
The colors are intense.
I said you can't see the colors great. The lighting is. I'm not sure what it is, but you could see them better on my website.
It looks good. Yeah. Well, this camera, it's
like
not the best camera. It's like
WendyNorton.com.
$60. I don't even know.
Yeah. So this is one of my favorite. I love this. Oh.
Any others?
Well, this one I love. It's a diptych. It goes with another one.
Let's see it. Okay, diptych, and that is when you have
this
two
is
photos.
One half of two. It's a diptych, but I can't take them
like
both
two
down.
that go together.
Influenced by Monet's garden in Giverny. Because we went there.
Lovely. I love it.
I love this one.
And then the drink series, I would love.
Oh, I have one. I'll show you.
Okay, she's got this drink series. They can't hear you because you're on the mic. But be careful with the wires. Yeah. She has this drink series where she paints. People love them. I absolutely love them. She'll paint these mixed drinks, cocktails, bar scenes, sort of, and they're very comforting. I think it's like it makes me want to have a drink, and I don't even drink. Like, it just makes me look at it. It's like, wow, that's a vibe.
These are old fashions. I don't know how to even do that.
So these are old fashions.
Popular drink now.
Very popular drink.
I am not really.
That's a good one.
Either, but I paint them. I love painting. They're beautiful to look at.
And you'll give them.
Glass is pretty. Yeah.
You were doing like a gift piece series for a while.
If someone buys a large painting, I can give them a small one.
Yeah, she'll occasionally, if someone buys a large painting, a very large painting. This was something she used to do, at least. She would give a gift piece of a small little painting, and it'd be a little drink just to go with it, and it would be very nice. So we got right here is Casa Monica, a hotel that is in St. Augustine. I think it's a famous hotel, and she's in a gallery over there, actually. So her work varies from this is oil. Her work varies from the lions to buildings to landscapes to like nudes. Like this one is so different. I don't even know if it's so different than all your others. What's this?
This is Wall Street.
Wall Street? That's an old one, right?
Yeah, but I love it.
Hard to see in this camera. It's
Yeah, it's not really doing it for it, but I love this one.
Yeah, it's a great one. All right. Yeah, are there more you want to show? Oh, there's like an example. I love that little one over there.
Oh, that teeny little pump.
You made me. Yeah, I love them all. You gave me one. I love it.
Oh, this one's not going to translate well because it's
No, yeah, it's
not even. It's so small.
right.
They're all
Microphone.
downstairs.
Yeah.
Most of my paintings are out in galleries right now, and I have a few downstairs.
Yeah. So yeah,
Waiting to go out, but not out right now. But most of them are all out in galleries. So this is like the ones I'm keeping, the ones that are in transition.
I like that one. That one really looks inspired by Van Gogh.
That's an old one. That is such an old one. I do love it though.
I love it,
It probably was inspired by Van Gogh. I mean,
It's great. You got all these little ones right
those
here.
are all works in progress. They're not done.
Okay.
And I normally don't do that. So they're either going to be finished. They're the ones I took pauses from, which I normally don't take pauses from.
I don't think I've ever seen these.
No, because they're not done, and I'm not happy with them. So I put them on pause.
Roosters.
And what is going to happen is they're either going to transform into something that I love, or they're going to transform. I'm just going to tear them up.
You had a big rooster series for a while. You'd paint roosters.
Well, I do. Yeah, those
You still do.
Well, I haven't painted as many.
Yeah, they're out there still. You got some.
Oh yeah, they are very popular.
I love the roosters. They're friendly.
They
nice.
are. They are. I love mine. It's downstairs, so I can't show it
It's
right now.
a great one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so where can people find you?
They can find me on my website, wendynorton.com. They can find me.
wendynorton.com. Just one. Yep.
Yes.
That's your URL.
Yes. And various galleries I'm in around. They are listed on my website, but James Coleman Signature Gallery in St. Augustine, Endangered Arts in Hilton Head, Vinings in Atlanta, Curate in Rosemary Beach, and not that's it for now, but I'm making some changes this year, so we'll see.
And so the website has stuff's available. Can you like sell and ship paintings? Like you will.
I generally sell through galleries, but if I have a client that's not a client of a gallery,
or if you have it
that has come by something in my studio and it's available, then they can acquire it through my studio. But most of my work is always out in galleries, so that's the way I choose to do it. And then if somebody likes something, I direct them to the gallery that it's in, and it's great. And since I really only do originals, I have to be very selective of my galleries. And sometimes less is more. I've had quite a few more at certain points, and I'll probably in the future have a few more, but I'm rethinking things because I do just originals, and it's you have to be mindful of quality over quantity.
Right.
Yes, that's an important thing that I am really going to be focusing on.
It's like when you're small, when you're small, you just produce as many as you can and try to
Right.
sell as many as you can for dirt cheap. And then once you build up a name,
Yes.
the idea is you want to build up a name to the point where you could be like, okay,
And you want to expand.
now I can just sell a few a year for way more money,
Right. But I also would like to, I have a nice collector base. I don't want to, some people start to increase their prices
Right.
super quickly.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't want to
Keep it
do that. I
reasonable.
like to keep I like to keep, if I do increase, I'm pretty, I'd like to keep it, small.
affordable for someone.
Not necessarily, I don't know if that's the right word. It's just, I don't want to, I like where I'm at. I don't know if that's,
Yeah.
a bad thing
Reasonable.
to say, but a lot of people then, like you said, then you start to get ahead of yourself and you do too many galleries. Doing too many when you're doing originals then you're compromising your art to an extent, I think. Or you can go into prints and giclées, high-end giclées, which right now I'm sticking with my originals. I have a couple limited editions out there. I may do a few specialty ones here and there throughout the year, but I'm really mostly original palette knife oil painter, not limited to, but mostly. And that's what I'm doing. That's my thing. So,
Nice.
yeah.
And one last thing I just remembered, I thought it was a cool story, but didn't you have somebody who was going to buy a painting once that was colorblind and they saw like
Yeah, there was
Like something-
in one of the galleries I was in, I have this painting. Actually, I have it back now. I think I'm going to keep that one. I love that one. And so he came in with his family and is colorblind. So really, paintings, a lot of them don't do much for him, but he was really emotional because he felt like he could see my painting. And I don't know if it was the texture that I use and or the colors, it created an effect that he could really, it resonated with him. So they didn't end up acquiring it. I'm not sure if it was out of their price range or something, but yeah, I was surprised. I didn't realize that. Actually, I did have another gentleman that was colorblind that did collect a piece of mine. And he was always looking at ones that were ones that could hold, that weren't just color based, ones that were more value based that could,
yeah.
if you would turn that painting into a black and white painting, would it still hold up?
Mm-hmm.
And they should, right? I mean, value wise, but how would it hold up to him? So yeah, he ended up buying a painting too. So
That's really cool.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I just thought it was a good story to end on.
Yeah. Me too.
Anyway, again, I appreciate you doing this with me.
Yeah.
It was a great talk.
Anytime. Yeah, it was fun.
I hope you all enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
And bye, guys.
Bye.